Hi everyone, my name is Junon. I have health science background and I'm the author of the book Truth and Empathy, How to Find Your Soulmate. And I'll put a link to the book below. This video is the MBTI personality type assessment of Krishna. But before we dive into this topic, I would like to underline something about my book. It is written from a health science point of view, so we'll be looking at the anatomy, physiology, brain dominance, and so forth of the 16 MBTI personality types. And based on this information, you can identify your own type. And since I advocate that like attract like, you can determine the best romantic partner for you long term. So let's go back to the topic at hand. Lord Krishna's MBTI personality type. One important concept when it comes to the 16 MBTI personality types is that they can be grouped into four main ones. The first ones are sensor judgers, the second sensor perceivers, the third intuitive thinkers, and the last one intuitive feelers. To me, Krishna was an intuitive feeler, and I will explain why. I have some notes on screen so I don't miss anything. Lord Krishna is a major deity in Hinduism. He was born on July 21st, 3228 BC. Krishna's birthday is celebrated every year by Hindus, which falls in late August or early September of the Gregorian calendar. He's speculated that he has lived up to 125 years. The name comes from a Sanskrit word meaning black, dark blue, or the all-attractive. He is worshipped as the 8th avatar of Vishnu and also the supreme God in his own right. He is the God of protection, compassion, tenderness, and love. The anecdotes and narratives of Krishna's life are generally titled Krishna Leela. He is the central character in a number of sacred texts, such as the Bhagavad Gita. They portray him in various perspectives, such as a godchild and a prankster. Hinduism is the oldest religion in the world and a compilation of many traditions and philosophies. Most forms of Hinduism are enotheistic, which means that they worship a single deity known as Brahman, but still recognize other gods and goddesses. Followers believe there are multiple paths to reach their god. Hindus believe in the doctrines of samsara, the continuous cycle of life, death, and reincarnation, and karma, the universal law of cause and effect. Hindus revere all living creatures and consider the cow a sacred animal. Food is an important part of life for Hindus. Most don't eat beef or pork, and many are vegetarians. One fundamental principle of the religion is the idea that people's actions and thoughts directly determine their current life and future lives. As a religion, it is the world's third largest, with over 1.2 to 1.35 billion followers, and most of them are in India. Since the 1960s, the worship of Krishna has also spread to the Western world and to Africa, largely due to the work of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. If we look at Krishna's life, it is typical of a person who is an intuitive feeler. So in other words, at an earlier age, he was recognized as someone who's special because the way that they describe it is that he was the blue one. So just the fact that his skin was not even like other people, it means that he was like marked from birth as having sort of special abilities. And the other aspect also is that the fact that we call him Lord. So according to my favorite spiritual teacher, David R. Hawkins, only people at the highest level of spiritual evolution should be called Lord, so such as Lord Jesus, Lord Krishna, obviously even Lord Buddha. So another aspect that stands out when it comes to Krishna is the fact that he lived so long. He lived to be about 125 years according to sacred texts. Do we know if it's true or not? But really the idea is the fact that his birth was special, but also his lifespan was unusual. They recounted in those sacred texts about his special powers, the fact that he was someone who really was very wise. So you'll see that these type of characteristics are very much in line with someone who's an intuitive feeler, especially the fact that we're looking at spirituality. We're not talking about someone who is more of a like left brain dominant. It's probably someone who's right brain dominant. The other point also like that points to someone who is an intuitive feeler is the fact that in terms of the religion Hinduism, the fact that it's the oldest. So we really when we talk about spirituality, we're talking about timeless principles, and it's really people who have, let's say, this type of advanced spiritual knowledge who understand these principles, and they are able to pass it down from generation to generation. So that's why up to now, a third of the world population are Hindus. So in other words, to have this type of impact, a person usually has to be highly advanced. So the other aspect is whether Krishna is an introvert or extrovert. I would lean more to being an introvert because people who are introverts and intuitives have the slowest brain waves. So in other words, to be highly advanced spiritually, the brain has to be very slow, very coherent. And for a person to reach that level, they have to have a theta brain dominance. And that would lead more someone who is an introvert versus extrovert. The other aspect is whether, based on that, is that if Krishna was a judger versus a perceiver, to be able to, have a religion that is the oldest of all the religion on this planet, is that obviously the person has to be organized, be able to pass down effectively, the knowledge, the philosophy from one generation to the next. So in other words, this is a very colossal work in terms of maintaining the momentum. So I would say that to accomplish that, someone like Krishna must have been someone who's very organized, like a judger. So based on this information, I would say that Krishna is most likely an INFJ, just like Jesus Christ and Buddha and so forth, because of the impact that he had over number of centuries. We're looking at someone who was born more than 3,000 years before Christ was born. So this is not an easy feat. And to summarize, if we look at Krishna's life, it is typical of someone who is an intuitive feeler. So at an early age, he was very interested in spirituality and meaning. He's very early on, they noticed that he was different. So in other words, the color of his skin was blue, so he stood out. He lived much longer than most people, up to like 125 years, according to sacred texts. He's someone also who is the eighth incarnation of Vishnu. So in other words, he's a living God, according to those traditions. And also, he's someone that most likely was an introvert, because introverts tend to go more inwards. And if, let's say, someone who is, let's say, an intuitive feeler and is an introvert, most likely this person is among the highest, in terms of like spiritual evolution. And since I did time as an INFJ, INFJs have the most coherent brains, they're the most spiritually advanced, and even the fact that we call him Lord Krishna, because according to my favorite spiritual teacher, only people who are at the highest level of spiritual evolution should be called Lord. And obviously, because of the fact that Hinduism, is still going strong nowadays. I mean, a third of the world population, are Hindus. So it means that he needs to be organized, know how to pass down the different ideas and concepts from generation to generation. So let me know if you agree or disagree with the content of this video by commenting below. Also, I would like to know who strongly resonates with the INFJ personality type. So I'm going to put a playlist with a number of videos, and you can let me know if you identify well with this personality type. Also, click on the notification bell to be notified of the videos. Subscribe to my channel, and we will talk soon.